And now I'll take her.
4 seconds to go.
That's all. The leash should be over by the door.
You are live on Gooch Live, featuring Paul Rosen. I'm Kerry Goulet, better known as the Gooch.
I'm Paul Rosen, better known as Rosie.
Hey, you know what? It's brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News.
And the great people at Christian Hockey.
And we have a very, very special guest. I want to do a shout out to Dane, Nick, and of course Reagan for getting this man on, one of our best, Ed Belfour. How you doing, Ed?
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Now, I know a lot of people call you Ed or Eddie. What are you comfortable with?
Either way.
All right, Eddie. I love Eddie.
Eddie,
we met a couple times. Shoot for a Cure is one of our causes at the Hockey Hall of Fame, and your induction. It was an honorable night for all of us. So not only congratulations on that, we're just so honored to have you today. I know that you have a new product called, or it's been around a little bit here, Belfour Spirits. Nick made that aware, Nick Lazarco, who works with you. And so it's just fantastic that we can talk to you about hockey and then, of course, about Belfour Spirits. So listen, I'm just going to throw a couple of your accolades up so people can know. You were in the NHL All-Star Game 1992, 93, 96, 98, 99, 2003. Wow, takes a while. Stanley Cup winner, 1999. I know that Paul will be talking to you a little bit about that and about where you played. But one of the amazing stories is when you won a national championship with the University of North Dakota in 1986-87 in the NCAA. But the biggest fact is you played in Winkler for the Winkler Flyers, and I played for the St. Boniface Saints. Now, in the MJHL. I didn't get to play against you because I probably wouldn't put up any stats. But why don't you tell us a little bit about back at home in Winkler, because it's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Carman, little town about 30 miles from Winkler. And the Winkler Flyers were the team that we all wanted to play for when we were kids. And the timing of it was worked out nicely for myself. We had just won the high school championship with the Carman Cougars, and that kind of leapfrogged me into the Winkler Flyers organization. I got an opportunity to play there, a little bit of a late bloomer. Played 3 years there and learned a lot about the game. And University of North Dakota, just around the corner from us in Grand Forks, North Dakota, is only 2 hours away. They scouted the MJHL quite a bit back then, and I got an opportunity to meet John Marks and Kerry Eads, who really promoted me. And Gino Gasparini was our head coach back then. He came down and had a chance to see me play. And then the night that he came, it was in Selkirk. It was a really cold night, but I stood on my head and we won 2-1. So I'm pretty sure that's probably what sealed the deal.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You probably know the Morden Bombers in the Cash League. If you remember that, you may have been gone by then. I played for the St. Boniface Mohawks in that Cash League, and we went down to Morden often. Did Carman have a team in that league? I can't recall.
We used to have it was called the Carman Beavers.
That's it. Yes. All right.
That's a good name.
All right. So thank you for sharing the way you got to where you are today in the National Hockey League. I know Paul wants to ask you a few questions about your playing career in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, so first of all, Ed, thanks for being on. Everybody knows that Gooch is a huge Winnipeg Jet fan. I'm a huge Chicago Blackhawk fan, going back to '66 when I met Bobby Hall. That year, that first year with the Hawks, you guys had an incredible team. You lost in the final to Pittsburgh, but what a team of talented players. Tell us a little bit about some of your teammates that you had like real good relationships with.
Well, Chris Chelios was my best friend on the team, and Mike Peluso was another one of my really good friends. We had a great group of guys there, good veteran team, and we played hard defensively. We forechecked hard. That was Mike Keenan era where, dump and chase and bang the other teams up pretty good. And, for me, it was a dream come true to get to sign with the Blackhawks and spend a little time in the minors and worked my way up and was fortunate enough to have Vladislav Treček as my goalie coach, which, he really helped me make the Blackhawks team. And Mike Keenan was our head coach then. Daryl Sutter was there helping, and he was my coach in the minors. Ended up being my coach in Chicago also. But those guys really helped my game, helped me, get ready and prepared for the NHL game. And Keenan started me, I think, 75 games that year. So thanks for all those starts that he gave me, and rookie of the year and all that. But we went to the finals against Pittsburgh, and we still we're on a streak there. I think we won 11 games to get to the finals, and then we lost 4 straight to Pittsburgh, which was a heartbreaker.
Yeah, but they were all 1-goal games. Like, you guys were in every game.
Yeah, it was definitely close games. The first one was a heartbreaker when we were up, I think 4-2 with like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game, and then the wheels came off.
Jagger, that guy Jagger.
Yeah, that guy Jagger.
Yeah. But you know what? Then Dallas, you get your Stanley Cup. What was it like winning the Stanley Cup and then breaking open a new area of hockey for young kids to see the Dallas Stars win?
Yeah, they did a great job of promoting hockey here in Dallas. And, they came here in 94. And right off the bat, the organization, they teamed up with Dr. Pepper, and they started creating these Dr. Pepper Star Centers around the Metroplex, which really got kids into hockey and, helped teach the game here. And I think they ended up building somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 of those Dr. Pepper Star Centers. So, you see kids that are getting drafted out of this area now, and it's nice to see, and how the Dallas Stars have always, maintained that relationship with the youth hockey and really promoted the game. For me, coming here in '97 and getting the chance to be part of Bob Gainey's and Ken Hitchcock's, teams were amazing. Bob was just an amazing hockey mind. Coming out of the Montreal organization, he brought in guys, like Guy Carbonneau and Mike Keane, gritty guys and defensive-minded guys. And, he just built a fabulous team for the Dallas Stars, and we went on to win the Cup in '99. We were close the year before, too, but ran up against Detroit, and they ended up, beating us, I think, if I remember right, in 6. But it was a dream come true to win the Stanley Cup. As you know, growing up in Canada, you play for the Cup ever since you're like 3 or 4 years old. You watch Hockey Night in Canada. You play street hockey, you play boot hockey, you play, floor hockey at school. It's always about the Stanley Cup for us Canadians. And then for me, that was the pinnacle of my career, getting the opportunity to play with such a great group of guys and winning the Stanley Cup and hoisting the cup over my head. It's something I'll never forget. And just an amazing time period and moment in my life, and just incredible.
Well, Ed, you are on Gooch Live featuring Paul Rosen. We really appreciate you taking some time out. And I know you're one that don't want to hear accolades, but we want our people that are watching here to understand you are, just if I'm correct, one of only two players who have won a national championship, NCAA championship, a gold medal, and a Stanley Cup. Wow, that is absolutely fantastic. Tell us a little bit about what that means to you when there's only 2. I think it was Neil Broughton, if I'm not mistaken, is the other.
Yeah, that's definitely something to be proud about, and for me, I look back on my career, and I was a really hardworking goaltender and very competitive. My off-ice training was, probably up there with, any other world-class athlete, and that was competing in for the Olympics or for some of the top sports in the world. So I always took pride in that, and I was fortunate enough to play on so many great organizations and great teams. My career started with the University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux with Gino Gasparini and John Marks and Kerry Eads and Dean Blaze. And those guys had instilled for numerous years before I got there, about hard work and tradition and the winning attitude that we all learned about playing for the Sioux. and that carried over for me into my NHL career. And everywhere I played, I was fortunate enough to have, coaches and teammates that all had that same mindset. They worked hard in the gym, worked hard off the ice. Keenan had a really tough regimen of on ice and off ice routines and 3-a-days. And back then you get away with 3-a-days, and
Jesus.
he pushed it to the max. And you know what? When you had a group of guys that could take it, he knew that he could push the team harder, and that's why we did so well. We won the President's Trophy, and we went to the finals. And I think eventually we would have won the Stanley Cup in Chicago if he had stayed, and along with Daryl. But things happen. It's always about the money, and there's some things that you don't always have any control over. But just playing in so many great organizations like with Bob Gainey and Hitchcock and Dallas, in Toronto, playing there with Pat Quinn. He was first class, and we were really close to moving on there. And just it's tough to win in the playoffs, but I attribute my success to being on so many great clubs and great defensive-minded clubs. Defensemen that played so hard in front of me and block shots. Like Craig Ludwig and Richard Maffichuk. Those guys blocking shots. Every shift, and just going out of their way to do whatever it took to win. And when you play in those kind of teams, that's where you can be successful. And thanks to them.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We've got a lot of people online here asking questions, so I'll do a couple just before you, Paul. Number one, a bunch of people are saying, happy birthday, Paul. 60th birthday, 60 more, I hope. And then Robert Wine has just joined on, and he didn't know that Eddie Belfour was coming on, so he's absolutely blown away. And here's a question for you, Ed. As a young man in Manitoba, as I was in Winnipeg, black and white TV, we'd be watching, Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Were you a Leafs fan at that time? Do you recall? Or Canadians? I hate to put you on the spot, but who was your favorite team back then?
Well, it was fitting because my favorite team was the Blackhawks.
Okay, true. My mother's
Tony
too.
Tony Esposito and Bobby Hall and Stan Mikita. Those guys were all my favorite players. And Bobby Hall came to Carmen when I was 9 years old. After he left Chicago, he was playing for the Jets. He was the Golden Jet. Right. And, he came out to Carmen, watched us kids play during a tournament on a weekend, and he found the time to come out and visit with all the kids, sign autographs. And he brought these golden pucks. I still remember the date, February 14th, 74. And he brought these pucks out, 50 goals in 50 games. And that's got a picture on, sponsored by Pepsi Cola. So, it was really dream come true. Like I said, to play for the Blackhawks. My mom's favorite team was the Maple Leafs, and my dad's favorite team was the Canadiens. So Saturday night we had some good arguments going once in a while.
Well, the reason why I asked that question, I was hoping you'd say the Leafs, but it's great. My mother was a huge Chicago Blackhawk fan, and of course Paul Rosen is, and Bobby Hall was my mother's reason for that, and the logo. She loved the logo. But Kevin Shea said, then watching Hockey Night in Canada, and then all of a sudden being a Maple Leaf and playing. Tell us about your experience then.
Yeah, I mean, playing for two original six teams is an amazing, part of anyone's career. And for me, playing for my favorite team and then getting to play for my mom's favorite team, that was awesome. Playing in Toronto, I was a little nervous at first going there. The media can be pretty rough on you, but I was a veteran player by then when I got there, and as long as you answer their questions, they're fine with you. Sometimes my answers were a little short, but as long as you're there for them and you talk to them, that's what they want to make sure that, and they'll treat you fairly. But playing in Toronto, everyone knows the game there. Everyone loves the game. It's just it's just passionate, and that's what I loved being part of, is that passion, that excitement. Game day, you could just feel the electricity in the city. And I just loved it. My time in Toronto was an amazing time.
Yeah, Ed, I'm going to ask you one more question on Bobby Hall. That was a great story because I met Bobby Hall with my brother when I was 6 years old in '66. He shook my hand, and I was a Blackhawk fan from '66 right till today. I had a chance to play 10 years for the Canadian para team as the goalie and played in 3 Paralympic games. And there's things I'll remember for the rest of my life, winning a gold medal in Torino, having it put around my neck. Tell us about the moment they put the Hall of Fame jacket on you.
Yeah, that's an amazing moment. And for me, I never really realized the importance and the all the camaraderie and the excellence and the reward that goes along with being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and what a big, exciting, little bit overwhelming weekend that can be. And but it was just you know first class event, and my whole family was there, and it was just right from the time we got there, they treated us with first class. And there's all the events that are going on, and you get to meet all a lot of your heroes that are in the Hall of Fame. They're there for that weekend, and it just solidifies when I look back on my career, all the hard work and uh, dedication and sacrifice that went into my career. You just get a big sensation when you get that call that you've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then you get to put on the jacket and be part of the whole weekend. And it was like a little overwhelming, but it was an amazing weekend.
Fantastic.
Listen, we have a great question out of Vancouver. Dave Rutherford, of course, he's been with Nick on our tour to Australia Ice Hockey Classic. He's a big, big fan of Eddie Belfour. He asked this question: at what point did you know you were going to be a top level goaltender? I know it's sometimes tough to understand that I'm here and now I'm there, and you're in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Was there an inkling when you were younger to say, "Wow, if I keep," because everybody knew you had tremendous work ethics, that you would become Eddie Belfour, one of the best of all times?
Well, for me, I think I was born with it. I just always was very competitive, very confident in my abilities. And my mom always taught me, Ed, you can do whatever you put your mind to do, and you believe in yourself and you work hard enough for it. You can make the NHL one day, because like we all had 3 channels to watch, and watching Hockey Night in Canada Saturday nights, and watching our favorite teams. For me, that started at 4 years old, 5 years old, and I wanted to play in the NHL from that time. The first time I watched the game, and of course, a lot of kids dream like that when they're little. I think for me, had this God-given gift of my competitive nature, and never give up, and just do whatever it takes to win a game, or do whatever it takes to be the best you can be. That was my mindset. So even when I didn't make my high school hockey team and I was playing basketball, my heart was still, I wanted to be a professional hockey player. And we go to high school parties, and the kids would be talking and say, what are you going to do when you leave school and graduate and stuff? And I'm like, I'm going to play in the NHL. And then they'd be laughing. Well, you're not even on the high school team. How are you going to play in the NHL? So sometimes that was pretty funny back in those days. But you know what? I had a lot of people, and this is the case. I find the harder you work and the more dedicated you are, the more people want to help you. And I had so many great people in Carmen, teachers and police officers and friends and relatives. They see your work ethic. They reach out and they help you.
Absolutely.
I never would have made college if it wasn't for those school teachers that spent the extra time with me. So thank you to all those people.
You were watching Gooch Live. We featuring Paul Rosen. We're so blessed to have Eddie Belfour on. What very kind words. A lot of people forget where they came from. Obviously, you're honoring people that helped you. Paul, I knew you had a question.
Yeah, just the last one. As a fellow goaltender, there was always a couple of guys on the U.S. and on Norway that drove me crazy. Who was the one guy that just you knew when you were going up against them? Oh my God, I got to be 100% keyed in on this guy. Ed, not get me?
Yeah, no, I think Ed's. We got a little bit of freeze there. Listen, we'll get them. Let the technical thing get put together. Right after that question, I'm going into. You know what? He launched a very successful brand called Belfour Spirits. Right after we're finished.
Well,
with,
when Brett was playing in St. Louis.
Oh, there. Sorry. We've lost him for a few secs. Not a problem. Look at that good-looking dude sitting in the chair, having I guess, a Belford product. We're going to talk to his son and to Nick Lazarco right after this. We'll have a little bit of a roundtable, talk about their careers, and then get into what does it take to start a brand after obviously an icon. Is it a hard work, or you just put a label on something and here you go, you're back at it? So we're really looking forward to asking that question. Favorite moment of Belfort? Do you have something in your mind?
Yeah, you know, it goes back to the 91 season, that first game when he made some just incredible saves on Jagger. I know they lost that series, but I still think they were the better team, and I still think they should have won it. But
there he is. He's back live. Eddie was just saying, look at the guy beside you. Good-looking dude there.
No, he's frozen.
There's something wrong with the internet. That's
definitely one of my better days there.
Yeah, you look good, kid. Look good.
I asked you, I don't know if you heard that question I asked you.
Yeah, it was the guy that I always watched out for, like when I was in Chicago, and we weren't on the same team yet, was Brett Hall. You know, you had to be on your game, and you had to know when he was on the ice. So I'd always just, you know, keep an eye on him. I knew where the puck was, but I'm like kind of watching Brett, you know, in my peripheral vision. I know where he's going to be, and I'm just going to wait, because I know the puck's going to Brett. So, you know, that was for me, Brett Hall. He was one of those guys you just couldn't take your eyes off him, and he had this really quick release. He had a lot of flex in his shaft of his sticks, and the puck would just come off that stick just so fast, and it would tumble and turn a lot of times. So you had to keep your eyes out for Brett. Obviously, unbelievable goal scorer, and I liked it a lot better when we were playing together, and he scored the winning goal for us to win the cup in '99. So
yeah, I remember that.
Hey, Ed, as we go now, I want to talk a little bit about the Belfour Spirits. But before we go there, you brought up a good point, Paul. We know that Brett Hall had an incredible one-timer. And we know Ovechkin has an incredible one-timer, and it seems everybody's right-handed that has this incredible right-handed shot. Do goalies know that? Do they, as you just said, are people starting to cheat over to Ovechkin and Hall? They score automatic. Is there any tricks that you could tell a goaltender to be prepared to take a shot like that?
Well, I mean, you got to know the guys on the ice, and you know, for me, if I can see it leave the stick, you know, that's the important part for a goalie, is to see that puck leave the guy's stick. Now, there's so many screens and so many big guys in front of the net nowadays. Sometimes it's just so hard to see it leave. So guys like that, if you don't see it leave the stick, you know, and it hits the net, you know, either get lucky or, you know, you're not. It's in the net 9 times out of 10. But for me, I just told the guys, you know, hey guys, let me see the puck and I'll stop it. Right. So that's the important
fantastic
part.
We apologize. I know it's a little frustrating. Internet's going in and out, but your answers are fantastic. We love it. Okay, let's talk about Belfour Spirits. You want to give us, you know, obviously your name. We put a name on a bottle, and all of a sudden it just goes, you sell. It's a lot more than that. Can you give us a little bit of breakdown how you became involved? Obviously, putting your name on it. Did you create it? Give us a little bit of insight, because we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that was really important to myself and my family. There's a lot of brands out there with celebrity involvement, and they do just put their name on the product, and they don't know anything about it. They don't know how to make it. We didn't want that. We wanted to learn everything we could about the business. So this all started for Dane and I 6 years ago. And we went to school to learn how to distill. We learned how to, about the business, barrel selection, wood selection. All this comes into play to creating great whiskey. And, we went to a school in Louisville, Kentucky called Moonshine University. We met a lot of people in the industry that's helped us. And, that makes a difference is when you get involved with people who've been in the industry for 30 plus years, and they've helped us tremendously. Guys like Randy Allender used to work at Jim Beam. He helps us with our tastings, our flavor profile. He helps us with all of our production stuff. He's helping us with our plans for our own distillery in Kentucky. And there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. The wood that we select for our barrels comes from northern Minnesota. The wood grain is much tighter on white oak trees that grow in the north. They grow slower. That's where you get those awesome vanillas, caramels, all the wonderful flavors that you want in a bourbon. That's where
Yeah.
you get all from is wood that's a little bit tighter grain. We do a little different toasting profiles and char profiles on our barrels. It helps us age our product much quicker. There's this I'd like to say misinformed, but some people think out there that whiskey has to be 10, 12, 14 years old before it tastes good.
Right.
Well, that's only because it wasn't really done right in the first place, and they need it that long before it's going to taste good. If you do it right, it's going to taste good, at 5, 6 months. And at 2 years, it's going to be amazing.
Okay.
So all of our whiskeys are designed around aging much quicker. And, we want to put a product out there that's really easy and smooth to drink. That's what our products are, our rye whiskey, our straight rye whiskey. Even though it's 100 proof, it's still very smooth and easy to drink. Our bourbon's 92. It's been finished with a Texas pecan wood, which is a very unique product. All the wood is harvested here in Texas, and we finished the bourbon for 8 weeks with the Texas pecan wood in there, and it creates a really unique flavor profile for our bourbon.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I know that you're talking about expanding product lines, different locations. You want to touch upon that just before we let you go? We're going to talk to your son, Dane, and of course, Nick Lizarco, who introduced us to you in this interview. So just give us a little bit of insight. People can go back to the website. We'll talk to Dane and Nick about that. But expanding products, tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so like I said, we've been at this for 6 years, perfecting our Belfour brand. Our goal is to have our own distillery, like I was saying, in Kentucky. We're going to announce that here in the next little bit, hopefully sooner than later, with the coronavirus stuff going on. Now,
Yeah.
we want to make sure that we make our announcement in a timely fashion, and we're going to hopefully break ground within the next year and a little bit. In Kentucky. We're going to build an awesome venue, destination. We're going to have a beautiful lounge, a nice speakeasy. And part of what we're going to do with our distilleries, we'll have multiple brands. Dana and I have been working on a second brand for the last 3 years. We'll try to launch that sometime this summer is our hope. And then we're going to launch, once our distillery opens in Kentucky, we'll have a Kentucky brand also. So our goal is to have 3 brands, all under the Belfour Spirits brand, but they'll work separately on their own. They've been enjoyable to work on behind the scenes. This is a fun business to be in, and I'm working with my son and my daughter. Nick Lizarco, a former hockey player, also played in Winkler. Also, I don't know if you guys knew that,
Yeah.
for the Winkler Flyers, and played with Dane in Sweden. So we'd love to have enough guys at Belfour Spirit so we can make our own team eventually one day.
All right. Well, we'll have to get
Well,
you out to Australia when we get the chance to travel back over there. We'd love to have you, Paul. I know we've had a lot of great moments with you, Eddie. Thank you very much. NCAA champion, Olympic gold, a Stanley Cup winner, and also a Hall of Famer. Paul, what can you say?
Yeah, just thank you very much for being on our show. I know now Nick is going to come on and go on and on how he played on the U.S. team that was in Australia, that I coached Canada, and he beat me with Dennis Brooks. So I got to keep every show. We got somebody on that American team that brings up the fact that I was a losing coach. So I appreciate you being on the show. You are a Hall of Famer to us, and thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for having me, guys, and have a great day.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay.
Wow, that was fantastic. And just love the passion and all the people that helped get him on, his lovely daughter, Reagan. And now we get to meet his son, along with Nick Lazarco, who obviously we know him very well, even though you're 0-2 against him. He's also a really nice dude and has been big supporter of our organization, Stop Concussions, and of course, Connected to Mental Health platform. And now we'll get into visiting with the boys, and we'll talk a little bit. But what I found really cool about Eddie Belfour, before we bring the boys up, calm, cool, collected, unbelievable.
But and that's how he played. Like, you knew that there was a couple of moments out there, but you knew that he was going to have his angles done. One of my favorite goalies to watch, because like he said, he had a book. He knew what guys were doing. And that's what the young goalies just don't get, Gooch. They just go into the games. There's no preparation of a lot of these young guys. He had things. He knew when Brett Hall, where he was watching peripherally. This side might have been on the puck, but this side was watching Brett. And that's why he had so much success, because he was prepared.
Yeah. Well, and there's a couple of guys that had questions for him. I hope one day we can get him back and we can maybe have a goalie kind of find maybe some of his partners. But one question we didn't get to ask, we will, 3 takeaways from what Tretiak's coaching was about. That would have been a cool question. We'll get a chance to ask him about that. And there's a lot of fans here that loved him. So what a great opportunity for us. All right, let's get into these two young men. Dane and Nick know each other from going over and playing in Sweden. They played in the Winkler Flyers organization also, which is really cool to have two guys that now are involved with Belfour Spirit without knowing that prior to this. Fantastic to have Dane Belfour and Nick Lazarco. Can you hear us, guys?
Hey, guys. What's going on?
All good. Paul?
Hey, good to meet you, Nick. Yeah, Nick was one of those guys that no matter what, I could never get mad. Like, when they beat us, I could always get mad at Zen and Konopka because he was a lunatic. But you could never get mad at Nick because he always had this smile and he was always polite. And even if he scored in you, he was polite. So congratulations.
You should have heard what he said. Yeah, sorry about that. You should have heard what he said in the U.S. Dressing room, though, about the Canadian team and how it was coached.
They won.
No, absolutely. You're 100% right, Paul. Class act, and that's why we love hanging with him. He was with us with all the fun and games, losing rinks on the water, losing boards falling down, leakage. You've been there for all of it, Nick.
Hey, Nick, on that, the one in Wellington, where were we standing beside each other? Because there was a bunch of us standing beside each other when the boards went down.
Yeah, we thought there was an earthquake going on. Yeah, we were right next to each other. It was a sad sight to see, that's for sure.
But, no, it was all in fun now to look back.
But just come back stronger, right?
Yeah, but just before that, because Dane doesn't really know all the, and you've asked Dane to join us. Tell him we don't have always bad luck. There's sometimes we actually get lucky with a good event. So, anyways, let's get into it. Dane, you guys, we're going to let you both talk about your careers. Obviously, we know a little bit about that. We'll go to Dane first. Dane, having obviously a father who's a Hall of Famer. You know his accolades. I don't have to read them out to you. Tell us about you being a goalie, because I've seen that you're a really good goalie too. So I know you went over to Sweden.
It was a lot of fun playing in the net. Fellas, I've grown up basically on the ice, having my father be who he is. My godfather, Chris Chelios, very influential.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I started off as a defenseman because of Chelly, and then worked my way up to be a goal scorer like JR. And then after I did that around the age of 12, I was like, hey, Dad, can I have some goalie equipment 1 year for Christmas? And yeah, I'm sure he was already thinking in his mind, like, oh, no way. I don't want to see this happen. I don't want him to be a goalie, but it was inevitable at that point. I was just such a natural. It didn't matter if I was playing street hockey. It was always me, well, who wants to play net? I'll play net. I want to get hit with that damn thing and try to stack the pads like that. Be just like my dad, like any kid wants to be. And that led to a wonderful career, minding the net and, of course, emulating my game off of my hero, my dad, and a couple other goalies out there too. It was a blast. I love playing in the net.
So you played at University of Nebraska, Omaha. So please, my ignorance, I'm not that well versed with it. I know you came through the Winkler Flyers, which is the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, which I also played, but I played when they had the Saints,
Yeah.
which you did not get a chance to play with. I think they went to
Winnipeg.
they went to the Winnipeg Blues, or I think it was that.
They were the Saints, Winnipeg Saints, and then I believe they went
That's right.
further
You're right.
west after Nick and I were done in
Yeah.
the MJ.
You got a chance to go to places like Dauphin and some of the metropolises. Did you guys ever go up to Flin Flon? You can tell me. Did you go up to Flin Flon? Did they have a team up there at that time? Flin Flon
I
Bombers?
didn't go to Flin Flon, but one of my roommates, the young bomber, as we called him, Michael Young. I love the guy. He was my defenseman. He played in Flin Flon, but Flin Flon played the fellas in Saskatchewan.
Right, you're right. Okay, yeah.
When after Nick and I were in the MJ, they were in the SJHL there.
All right, Paul, just before you go, I'll let you introduce and interview Nick because you know him so well from your days in Australia. I just want to ask one more question before we get into the actual business side of it. Was the University of Nebraska, is that also an NCAA? Is that, I don't know it.
Yeah, that was, it was in the WCHA.
Okay.
That was, I don't remember what the hell year it was, quite frankly. 2011,
yeah,
I think. 2011 to 2013 and 14, something like that. It was right in the heart of Omaha. What an underlying hockey town. They don't have any professional sports there, but they definitely know how to have fun and work hard and represent their teams. They got a USHL club there, the Omaha Lancers. When I played against those guys when I was a Fargo Force fella. Yeah, I got a great town, great college, great school. Warren Buffett, big economic and business school. That's kind of what my education was while I was playing puck there.
Fantastic. Paul?
Yeah, so Nick, I want to talk to you about Australia, and not just the hockey end of it, but you had an opportunity. Gooch brings people down. It's great hockey, but it's also an opportunity to do a lot of things, work with kids, get on the ice. And what is it like for you to have an opportunity to break open a game ice hockey to a place where they had no clue for years, and just see those kids after the game come down to the ice and just mob you guys?
Yeah, well, you definitely feel like a celebrity down there. I think the first year it was something I didn't know what to expect, really, right? I didn't know if we're expecting 100 fans, 20,000 fans, but Gooch treated us first class with all the players. And for me, playing sports, it's a lot of it was about traveling as well and getting to interact with some different communities around the world. So I remember being at the Rod Laver Arena there in Melbourne with just a packed barn and seeing the kids. It's so funny too, because you go to those games and it's just dead quiet sometimes in the audience because they're so intrigued with watching the game and watching what's going on, and they want to learn the sport, and so they're just dead quiet, just all eyes on you. So that was a different experience for some of those games, but just to be able to go down and promote the game, I think we've seen the AIHL down there grow. Every year has gotten bigger and bigger. So hopefully we can, and even with one of the first NHLers to come win a Stanley Cup, was it Nathan Walker, Washington. So I think they got some, obviously they got talent down there if he's coming out of there, but to just keep growing the game and keep promoting it is all we can do. And I think it'll work out on its own. For me, being a Texas boy, I didn't start playing until the Stars came down and won the Stanley Cup. So, I was playing baseball, and when I saw the magic of hockey, I was hooked.
What do you think of the intensity in Australia with some of those games? Because we had fight. Like, this was a stop concussions event. There was like people 13, 14, 15,000. There was some intensity in some of those games.
I think there was a couple fights too,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. Zenon Konopka threw a couple fists.
Yeah,
I mean, it's in the end.
Konopka almost came into our bench to come after me.
Well, you don't want to see anyone get hurt and ruin their season, but at the same time, it's the sport, right? When it's a 3-3 game going into 2 minutes left in the third period, we all want to win. So the game starts getting a little bit faster at that point.
Hey, Dane, don't take it. Nick Lazarko is being light. I know Paul with our buddy Zenon, as he's a competitor. That's all you can say. He didn't have the talent that you guys had. Don't you got to remember, older. But man, woo, look out. Nick, I got a question here from Shoppy. He's our European correspondent from Krefeld, Germany. Everything goes through Germany or Chicago or the Jets with me. We always have guests that are connected somewhere along the line. You're connected in Germany because you played in Germany. And before we get into finding out how you and Dana played in Sweden, you were playing in Leipzig with a guy named Isborn Horverberger. Do you remember him?
That is
Horberg, sorry.
We were actually stallmates. He sat right next to my left. He was one of the few that spoke unbelievable English. Yeah. He was, he's like a wizard out there. He's played so long. Unbelievable guy, better character. He's a golf pro too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But man, he's just a guy that's been around that just literally he does it for the love of the game and the love of the fans. So that I couldn't ask for a better guy than Asa.
52 years old, he's still playing.
Yeah, he is.
There's still chance for us, Paul. We get ourselves in shape. Maybe if we get Nick and Dana and we go over there, we still got a couple more years to play. And as you say. A great guy. All right, Paul, I know Dane and Nick played in Sweden. Did you get a chance, Paul, to play in Sweden? Did you go over there?
Yeah, we had a world championship in Sweden. And when I first started, Sweden was one of the best para ice hockey countries in the world. They started to drop down because their grassroots program ended off. And obviously now in 2020, the Americans are the best. Their grassroots program is incredible.
What city was that? What city were you in?
Stockholm.
Dane, where did you guys play, Dane?
Nick and I, we were about 45 minutes from Örebro. We were in Lindesberg. It would be probably about 2.5 hours east of the Norwegian border. It was just unbelievable being in Sweden. I mean, I'm a dual citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen and a Canadian citizen, and I love North America so much. But I'll tell you right now, I didn't want to come back. I absolutely fell in love with the country and the people there in this town that I played in. Every town you go to has got a nice little brewery basically set up, and there's a lake for fishing. And I had my training facility. I had my nice little restaurant. My friend Hassan, who owned a restaurant, always made sure I was full of food and full of Swedish beer, and I had no complaints. Living in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. So I have a very special part in my heart for Sweden.
Nick, do you have the same feelings? You want to live in Sweden? Pretty cool.
It was definitely an experience going over there. We rode our bikes to the rink there and back every day, which it was a blast at the beginning, but then when it starts getting cold out there, you start wondering if you should get a car. But yeah, we had some nice little bunk beds side by side, living on the golf course out there. So some mornings I'd pop up at 3 a.m. and Dane just staring at me, waiting to go to practice. So we had a great time, though. The guys out there, it's a completely different game. It's a possession game. It really is. But every guy is lightning. Every guy can skate and handle the puck. So it was an experience to be out there, and I loved every minute of it with Dane.
A lot of fun. Like it was, I will tell you, I crashed so many times riding my bicycle to the games. Like I over the handlebars, sliding on ice. it was so worth it. The game, as Nick said, Nick is one of the fastest players I've ever
Absolutely.
ever played with in my, he's the laser cat. And, in Sweden, they're a different kind of fast, and
Yeah.
they're so freaking skilled. Everybody over there can score a goal like that. Like if they want to put it in that, eighth of an inch, or I mean, 3/4 of an inch to an inch and 3/4, it's going there.
Yeah.
They're so talented.
Yeah. Even just going to the supermarket was an adventure for us most days.
I know the feeling.
Guys, I'll ask you both the same question. Dane, you first, and then Nick answer the same. What would you say to a young guy coming up, and he's not 100% sure what's going on with the virus here? He wants to go overseas, but he's not 100% sure what's going on. How incredible was the overseas experience, and how much would you promote it to somebody? Dane,
I would tell, if anybody has the opportunity to go play hockey overseas in the European leagues, or out in, that the hockey in general, Nick has more the Germany experience than I don't have any experience there, but it's unbelievable hockey. It's a tiered setup, so they have their farm systems almost, so you get to the highest league, like the SHL or Swedish Elitserien, Allsvenskan, and Division One. That's basically like the NHL, the AHL, and the East Coast. Over here, I would tell guys to go because it's unbelievably difficult in a skilled setting game. It's worth getting that experience overseas in a different culture, interacting with people from all over the world. It makes you more worldly and more cultured, and I think that's a positive benefit to anybody who has that opportunity. Health scares, with the COVID stuff right now. I still keep in touch with our friends over in Sweden, Kenneth Westgards. I talk to him on the FaceTime or the WhatsApp and the Snapchat communication. And he keeps me in the loop with how Sweden is doing with the virus. And, everybody's home, but I've heard a lot of promising things that guys are over there, and they're getting an immunity to the virus. I don't know what's what, because we hear a lot of, hot and cold answers with what it's capable of. But from what I understand, is if everybody's maintaining their cleanliness, and they're protecting their ability to spread those liquid molecules to somebody else by wearing a face mask. I think there are ways of avoiding the sickness, and of course, take your extra minerals and vitamins, and eat healthy, get a lot of rest, and I think you'll be okay. But I'm no way, shape, or form am I a doctor. I'm kind of a crazy guy that'll go through a wall. I was a goalie, remember? So, Nick, you might have a different perspective than I do. What do you
Well, I
think, Nick?
mean, hopefully the season will get going again come the end of the year. Obviously, this virus has caused a ton of different problems, but hopefully life will get back to normal. And yeah, as a guy, who's coming out of college, who's debating to go overseas, I don't see why you wouldn't. I think that was, out of my years of playing, that being in Sweden and being in Germany and getting to go to Australia, those have been the highlights for me for sure. And that's an experience that you can't buy. Maybe you're not making millions of dollars to go play hockey over there, but you're getting to live the lifestyle. You're getting to meet the people, change the culture. You're getting to see things. I got to bring my wife over there to Germany for a year. We got to travel all through Europe while we were there. So it's a lot of memories that you can't you just can't buy. And being in a locker room with a bunch of Germans that can't speak English, and you got to go out and practice or play a game, you'll learn real quick. So it's I have some relationships that around the world that will never go away just because of those small little experiences. But my father, he played 17 years pro baseball, and that was one of the things he really harped on me is how much he got out of traveling and being with the boys in the locker room, and just the experiences of going around the world. And it makes you, I think, a more knowledgeable person, a better person to see kind of the culture that everyone lives around the world. It's not the same everywhere. So yeah, for a guy that's looking to go give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst case? You go back home and at least you tried. So But I don't know, Dander. I thought Sweden. We may have to go make a trip back and go do some fishing or something.
Oh my God. I'm getting stir crazy, because I got Hassan, and Kenneth. They're all asking me, when are you coming over to Sweden, and is the
Yeah,
whiskey coming, and let's go play some hockey again, have some fun. I miss it. I really do. I loved it there. It's a big part of
yeah.
my heart.
We'll have to go catch a game up there one of these days. We'll have to get back up to Winkler as well.
Go Lexon.
Did we lose the gooch?
No, hey, I'm back. We only have 4 spots, so I had to decide
okay.
whether or not we get rid of Belfour Spirits or Paul. Paul will be back in a few seconds.
Sorry, Paul.
Listen, great stories. As you know, I played over in Europe. Paul's been to several different championships over in Europe. You can't say enough about Europe. But
Yeah.
certainly now with the situation that we have, we all know that we're going to be bunkered down here for a little bit. We're looking forward to going back to Australia. We had plans for 2020. I knew last year we were trying to get Dane and Eddie over. We're going to still plan. There's still 2021. We got a couple people from Australia actually asking, would that ever be a possibility? I just don't know where we'd put Eddie as a coach, but we'll talk about that
No,
a little bit later.
Edward
So,
wants to play. If he's going,
Yeah,
all right. Well,
he's
let's put him
suiting
in
up.
shape. All right.
he's
No
a
worries.
defenseman now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Nick, we got a question. Are you guys both here? Are you still playing at all? Obviously, doing this business, which we'll talk about in a sec. I'll bring Paul back up and we'll take out the spirits and we can talk a little bit about the business. But you guys get to play at all? Like,
Right
as much as you
now,
do?
I'm down in Houston. I'm based out of Houston right now. One of the accounts I work with is actually called the Maple Leaf Pub, and they have their men's league team just down the road from me. They've been trying to get me out and skate, but honestly, I've been working on my golf game. If anything, right now, you give up so much time playing hockey that there's some things you miss along the way, and I have been a terrible golfer my entire life, so I plan on trying to fix that. That's my next goal.
All right. Well, Julie Woods says hello. Where is she from? Do you think? Well, it's a German, probably from Leipzig.
Possibly.
Yeah, she's from. All right. So, Dane, same thing. Do you get a chance to play at all, or is it?
I don't play. I don't really play anymore at all. I'm not healthy 110%, quite
Okay.
frankly. It's part of the reason why I came back from Sweden. I had to have a sports mesh hernia repair,
Oh, ouch. Yeah.
and it caused another hernia. It's been nothing but complications for me. And
Right.
my plan this year was to finally have my umbilical hernia sorted out.
Yeah.
And then I was going to put the pads on and go back out on the ice, get healthy. I still do all my rehab 4 or 5 times a week for my first surgery, which was about 3-4 years ago by now.
Golly, yeah.
So yeah, it's when the business took off and we got going, and we needed to get some more momentum. So I didn't really have that much time to kind of take care of my own health there, for a while, and it was really emotional for me to be back on the ice.
Right.
I stopped playing around 25, 26, I think, 25 or 6, I think it was, when Nick and I came back from Sweden, and I didn't want to leave the ice then. I wasn't ready. And, but life happened. We had some family things happen, and, the opportunities weren't there like I had hoped originally. I know I could have potentially been one of the Tim Thomases coming out of Europe in my heart,
Yeah.
because I am a Belfour and I am crazy. I don't know if anybody knows that.
We're not
And
suggesting that.
I'll do,
Any of the rumors.
yeah, I don't know who started that thing, but it's pretty damn true, quite frankly. We want to win, and my dad and I and my whole family,
Yeah.
my sister, we're dedicated to being the best that we can be, and that now is translated into making bourbon and rye whiskey. And
You are it says vice president of Belfour Spirits. And of course, Nick is the sales manager. It's got to be fun working in a company. I'm going to bring Paul right back up. I just want to show the products before we do that, because I have to take it off. It's got to be really cool to be playing in this business, Belfour Spirits, with such a great product. Do you want to, just before we bring Paul up, can you give us a kind of what the product line is?
yeah. So we have a 46%. Well, actually, hold on. What the heck?
You know what? I'll get rid of the picture. You can
Yeah.
show the product because I see one with a Stanley Cup. Well, somebody can tell us what that's about. So let's get Paul back up.
Let me grab. I got it sitting over here. Let me grab that. Don't mind my turtle swim trunks here. But,
No worries.
I love turtles. But yeah, let me show you guys what we're dealing with. I'll start you off here with.
Yeah.
A little bit of a rundown here. So I've got a Texas pecan bourbon whiskey. So what that ultimately means is we've got a spirit that's made with at least 51% corn. And corn is the majority grain that makes bourbon. Now, rye, so this is the rye. Rye, as you can all kind of imagine, is made with at least 51% rye grain in the mash bill. So this is our Texas pecan bourbon whiskey, and this is our rye whiskey. And let me break the big kahuna out. This is our straight rye whiskey. Comes in a lovely limited edition box. I only made 12 barrels of this while I was working at Woody Creek Distilleries in Basalt, Colorado. That's where I did my 7-8 month internship there after our education with Dad and I. So this is our straight rye whiskey. It's
Wow.
100 proof. It's 50%
It's got a Stanley
alcohol.
Cup on it.
Well, yeah, it's got a lovely little 1.5 ounce sterling silver jigger because I used to be a bartender, and I love the service industry. It's a fun, hardworking industry, and if you do it right with the right set of teammates, you can have too much fun, and which ultimately led me to, the desire for creating alcohol. I love spirits in general. Specifically, I'm a big rye whiskey fan, so I made this straight rye whiskey while I was at my internship, and the chalice on top resembles something very, very special that all you guys know.
It's a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and on the inside there's our eagle.
Hey, you should have the white gloves. Kevin Shea just said you got to be having white gloves if you touch a Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
Thanks,
what? There's something really cool about this, guys. I'm so proud of my hockey roots and ultimately with my whole family.
Yeah.
But this package here, this bottle number is bottle 1314 out of 3,000. And so the first number that we bottled, Nick and I were bottling these together when we were in Louisville, Kentucky. It was awesome. The first number of production went to the number of player on my father's team in 1999. So number one was my dad's goaltending partner, Roman Turek. We released this package in 2019 to show tribute for the victory in 99 that my dad had accomplished with the Stars and his whole crew. So number two goes to Darian Hatcher, number three Craig Ludwig, 5 Sidor, and Mo's number 9, and Brian Scrudla number 10, and the whole dad's number 20. So he got the production bottle number 20. So they're out there in the hands of the victors of the 99 Cup team.
Holy guys. Hey, listen, Paul, I've heard goalies are crazy. This guy's crazy. Dad was crazy. You're crazy. And you know what's fun about it is, I know Val was a goalie too. Every goalie's crazy. I don't get it. But here's a question for you. Paul, I don't know if you've seen on the right-hand side, Sam Traplino, who did his young daughter did an incredible video for us. We're going to show Dane and Nick. I'll send you a copy of it. 12 years old. She's going to do a commercial for Eddie Belfour or the Belfour Spirits in Australia because now we're going to sell bottles. Everybody wants us to bring Eddie Belfour Spirits to Australia.
Dude, she's 12 years old. I think we should.
Well, but for her father, not for her.
Down. Yeah, he could do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, your question is a crazy goalie to another crazy forward.
No, what just to Dane, one of the things I was proud of, I played 10 years for Canada as a pair ice hockey goalie in 3 Paralympic games, and we won the gold in Torino, Italy. I led the team actually in penalty minutes that year as the goalie. They compared me to Ron Hextall. Any kind of crazy stories with you in the crease? Because when guys would come in my crease, and I don't know if you've seen para-ice hockey or sled hockey, when guys came in my crease, I got a little blocker happy.
you know what? You got to protect your space. That's just something that the defensemen and the forwards, they kind of don't understand that because they got all that other space and they won't even let guys like you and I cross the red line. I just want to go hang out with all my friends.
Yeah.
But I was so fortunate that I had guys on my team that loved me so much and protected me no matter what. So I was kind of the very silent type on the ice. I would only talk to my players, and I'll never forget it. I had my defenseman Troy Cleaver literally rip somebody's jaw off because he was in my space and in my crease. But the craziest story I could give you wasn't during the game. I was mental in practice. In games, I was very focused on just trying to be the best version of me and stop the puck. In practice, that was my preparation for the game. And if you were screwing around in practice like the freaking idiot forwards that are always shooting the puck from the side of the goal line at your skates,
Yep.
don't do that to me, dude. I'm trying to be the best for you so you guys can go get a hat trick and be the hero. Don't mess with my mind in practice. So Nick specifically, we have, oh my God, there's a reason why Nick is my best friend. And one practice, Nick and I were skating around and warm up, and I'm just kind of in my own zone and world. And you kind of fling the puck with your leg and the stick, like you can kind of kick it and it'll just go flying. Well, I just turned about red line and just fired it when nobody was coming, and I looked up, and Nick is like perfectly skating, like this, and then the puck that I shot just boom and smoked him right in the mouth.
Oh,
And he
Right
was
there.
leaking all over the
I still got the scar.
he still got the scar. He was leaking all over the place, and I felt just awful because I didn't want to hurt him. He's my friend. He wins me games, and
Yeah.
and then there's another time I absolutely boomeranged my stick from the net head height at Nick when he was coming in because I didn't like the angle he was coming in off the blue line for like a warm up shot for me. And
wow.
I mean,
To be fair, I would shoot high and hard just about every night. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember one practice when we were getting ready for World Championship in the Czech Republic. We had this French guy on our team, Eric Desjardins, and he'd always go in the corner before we'd come out on drills, and the guys in East Corner, and I would just be sliding back and forth, and he'd fire it from the corner across the line and hit me in the sled. And I kept telling him to stop it and stop it. And then he was in front of me on a tip drill. I blocked him in the head, and we went at it. Like, we went at it full steam. I couldn't stand when guys did that.
Well, it drove me nuts. Another thing is, my dad designed our own skate blade profile. We had a removable blade, and to do so, Dad also had these really cool triangles. Power did with their vapor line years back in the 90s and 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and that made the skate from a side impact very brittle. So I'd be standing there doing game warm-ups, and some freaking young idiot over there shoots a puck, breaks your blade. You got to get off the ice, go change your skate blades, and now it's all different because you got new blades in. It doesn't feel right. Forwards and defensemen will never understand that. Like, sure, you guys can go put a new set of blades in, but it's going to take me a while to get used to my new bearings here, bro. So come on, like, don't do that to me. This is my area. You stay over there, your area. This is my area.
And don't touch your pads.
Don't touch my pads. Don't even look at them. Don't look at me either. Don't look at me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wow, you guys, you and it's goalies. They're a different breed. There's no question about it. Reason why I took Paul down is because I got some orders, guys. Listen, James Jansen, a big Belfour fan, now a big Belfour fan with Dane too, and he's saying, when can I bring him a couple of bottles to Australia? He says, have followed Eddie's career since his first season in the Windy City. Wow. And then I get an email or a text from one of our buddies, Martin Williams. We had him on here earlier. He's one of the top players in the German third division. Probably played against you, Lazarks in Leipzig. He's saying, when can we bring the Belfours to Germany? Man, we're going to be booking you guys. You guys are going to be in that.
Let's go. I need an excuse to go back overseas, and quite frankly, I've always wanted to go to New Zealand and Australia, and you guys just got to be careful. If you bring me to these places, you guys literally might not find me. I will lose myself in the culture.
We'll put one of those GPS units on you. Listen, as we go through it, I just wanted to bring this up. We are obviously, we do a bunch of, as Nick knows, we do a bunch of charity events. Paul and myself, along with a great team of people, along with Keith Primo, I'm sure you know the name. We have Stop Concussions Connected to Mental Health Platform. We're launching a new product event next week. Not going to tell you anything about it. It says Clipathon All-Star Night. It's all I'm going to show you. I know that the Belfour Spirits is going to be a part of it. We need your zaniness. We need your passion, Dane, to help us out. That's all I'm going to say. And it's not money. You can send us $1 million, we'll take it, but it's not about money. So we look forward to talking about that next week.
All right.
And on that, we will be taking some people over to Australia, New Zealand when we can. And as you probably know, we have Stop Concussions USA, Stop Concussions Canada, Stop Concussions Germany, and that we do an event every year in Germany. So as soon as we get out of jail and pass go and get our $200, we'll be able to buy the plane tickets, and we're taking everybody over. Dane, you got to make sure you do it. Nick, you're listen. I want to go back a little bit about hockey and, of course, the Belfour Spirits. We all know that along with mental health, there's always issues with players and all that sort of stuff. But playing over in Europe and not having that connection to your family or to your friends, how difficult was that? So when you're playing, let's say, in Leipzig, or you're playing in Sweden, and dad's not around, mom's not around, or maybe a close cousin that you would. How does that affect you? Nick, if you don't mind answering that, because I know you played in Germany, and I was there much earlier than you were. That was a tough time because English was not their number one language, and even when they spoke English, most of the time they didn't understand the question. Before Dane, you asked that question, please, Nick, tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the technology was a little bit more updated than when you were playing Gooch, so we could Skype and do some things here and there. But I mean, you're right. The time difference is completely different. I think for us, Dane, even before me, he's been traveling a little bit, living out of a suitcase his entire life. So I think by the time, we were old enough, we were kind of almost used to it, being away from family, since, we were 13, 14, 15, 17. But, it is tough. That's why you got to make some friends. I had Eddie Gale was a very close friend of mine in Germany. He was
Great guy.
He was the other import in Germany. So, we were best buds, and, he had his wife with him. I had my wife with me. So we hit it off real well. And then with Dane in Sweden, obviously, it is tough. It's one of those things, and you're always thinking about what it could be like if I'm back home, or what am I going to do after sports. It's always running through your mind. But at the end of the day, you're there to play hockey, and you're there because you've worked your whole life to get there, and that's all you want to do. That is why we are there. So, being in the locker room with the boys, there's nothing better. I think that's what keeps all of us sane when we're, overseas.
Yeah, I follow that. Fellas, like Nick said, I've been a suitcase my whole life. I tend to be a highwayman, a drifter. I love going from one place to the next and meeting new people and really diving into the culture. I have, like Nick said earlier, I have friends all over the world that I know I could call in the drop of a moment, and it's not like any time has gone forward at all. I at the time was actually just coming off of a college breakup with my ex-girlfriend, so it was really great going to Sweden. I mean, look out! I mean, you're in trouble if you're a tough, rugged Viking guy like me, because those gals there, they love the rugged, crazy guys like me. And I was fortunate enough. I ended up with a lovely gal for a while, a professional volleyball gal, and we did everything together, worked out together, ate together, and just lived our lives together there. So it was really easy for me I was going over essentially to my home. What I felt like,
Right.
I was always kind of that intense, well, Viking like guy. And you look at my beard. If I
Yeah.
can ever meet Conor McGregor one day, I'm going to give that fella a hug
You
because
look like him. There you go. Don't bring up UFC. It's a soft spot in my heart. I just love firing stuff out at Dana White. Listen, before we let you go, I just want to touch a little bit more. Bring Paul up for his saying goodbye. It's his 60th birthday, of course, and mine. I'm 61 in 4 days. For God's sakes, I'm getting old. Let's talk. Tell me. Tell me a little bit about the Belfour Spirits. Where can we go and see it? Is it in Canada? Will it arrive in Canada? On top of that, your father mentioned some new lines coming out. We've only got a couple of minutes, so I'll start with you, Dane. Tell us a little bit about, is it available in Canada? Where can people get more information about it? Where can they get the one with the Stanley Cup, please?
absolutely. So currently, right now, my head of sales, Mark Lonis, is pursuing a relationship with Canada. Most likely starting out in Ontario first. You will be able to get the straight limited edition rye whiskey. Let me bring it right at this one. You will be able to get that one. I saved 2 barrels back.
Yep.
So those are going to Canada here shortly. With everything going on in the health scares, it's really halted a lot of things. So I would expect it to end up in Canada sometime from now till about springtime 2021 at the latest would be my guess. A couple of our other products, just working on different mash bills for other bourbon flavor profiles and other rye profiles of flavor. I don't want to leak out all my secrets because I
Oh,
want
it's
to have
okay.
everybody be really excited. But
That's all right.
um,
That's why I
I
didn't tell you
will.
about the clip-a-thon, because I want you guys to anticipation. No, what
Yeah,
is it?
no, I totally get it. There's a couple other brands that I believe will be extremely exciting, potentially opening up from this summer till next summer that we will perhaps release into the market. Only if the juice is worth the squeeze. Dad and I, we're the final decision on that, and of course with the aid of our other teammates. But we don't ever want to release something that's not going to do us justice. Just like we didn't want to
Fantastic.
step on the ice when
Absolutely.
we got to be
So,
prepared.
So I'm going to ask Nick this question. So
Yeah.
Nick, if I wanted to buy that cool looking bottle right now,
Yeah.
can you ship it to Canada or no? Is that legal?
No, not right now. But Elizabeth, our head of marketing, Elizabeth, she's awesome. She has
She's
an
fantastic.
unbelievable website set up. Go
Okay.
to belfourspirits.com.
All right.
It has a store locator on there. It'll show you all the spots that you can go pick up a bottle that's available right now. We're in North Dakota, South Dakota. We're in Illinois. We're in Texas. We're looking to expand state by state.
Fantastic.
So
Yep.
definitely, keep hopping on there and following Belfour Spirits, and hopefully we'll get it in every market as soon as possible.
Well, it's a long drive for me, but I'll make the drive. Listen, Paul's coming back up. We are so honored to have you guys talk not only about your playing careers, but also talking about a product line of your father, of course. But I know you mentioned the word team. We mention, as Paul and I have always said, it's a family. Hockey's a family. We all work together, love together, cry together, as you'd mentioned on some of the crazy forwards you had. Thank God you didn't have me as one of your forwards, because I loved headshots and warm up. We just saw what you were. No, we'd see if you were ready for the game, if you get ducked quick enough. Paul?
No, yeah, I just want to thank both of you. First of all, Dane, as a fellow goaltender, I had no problem with guys calling me crazy. As long as you stopped the puck and as long as we got the win, I couldn't care what you called me. So I also love the fact that your dad's your role model and your hero, because my dad, who's 89, never played hockey, but he's my role model and my hero. So looking on my 60th birthday today, which I never thought I'd make it to, thank you so much for your time. And Nick, hopefully I will get a chance to get behind the bench and beat you as a Canadian to an American. And if I don't, as always, I will tip my hat to you, because you have to be a gracious loser to be a gracious.
Well, hopefully next time I can bring a couple Belfours with me.
All right. Well, listen, we got a lot of people saying goodbye and saying hello and thanking you for taking some time out. Thanks, Nick. Thanks to the Eagle. And now, I don't know if this is your nickname, Great Dane. If it isn't, we're starting it now. Kevin Shea, thank you. A lot of people from Germany, Michael Bertz and his wife Britta, say they've never met you, but they love you already. You guys got a lot of fans, okay? So thank you for taking time with us. Thank your sister Regan for getting Eddie on here. I know that all of us that are over the age of 55 sometimes struggle a little bit, but she did that. Thank you, guys. You've been watching Gooch Live featuring Paul Rosen right here on the Hockey News.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Take
you.
care, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. It was an honor. You
Right
call
on.
us back anytime. We'll have a jam.
Hey, I'm coming to you about our little clip-a-thon, kid. Don't you worry. Thanks,
Okay,
kids.
brother.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Be
Thank
well.
you.
Hey, and say goodbye from.
Leaf.
Forgot to say goodbye from Val. He's a goaltender too. Wanted to make sure you guys knew it.
Oh, thank you, Val. Yeah, thanks, Val. Thanks,
Val.
brother.
All right, guys.